Hello
Oh,
and welcome to Dip into the Ink, the show where me and sometimes a friend dive deep into a comic book page by page. Today we have my second recurring guest slash biological father, podcaster at the Waffle Press, photographer, writer, future director, male hand model, enjoyer of of
no.
of of libations, Diego Crespo. Oh my gosh, Diego, hey.
Hello. Hello. How are you? Thank you for that lovely introduction again.
Fingers crossed,
I don't
audio's okay.
yeah.
I say that
Yeah, I
every
hope
episode.
yeah. Do I sound okay? If I
Yeah,
don't sound okay,
it's
someone let me
it's
know in the
me.
comments.
It's me. I can't figure out OBS to save my life. And then I realized on Discord where I'm like recording this, you can also change the volume of the person speaking on Discord. And
Mhm.
I'm just like, it's
Oh,
just too many
wait, what
factors.
really?
Yeah, if you right click on like their picture, you can change the audio for how loudly you hear them.
Oh, this is gonna be so fucking helpful for me.
And I didn't realize
Oh
that
my god.
because my other recurring guest, Rudy, he's a very loud talker. So like every episode, no matter how I would adjust him in OBS Studio, like he was always loud. And I was like, I wonder why. And then I realized I could adjust him on Discord. Ignoring all that, today we were talking about a comic that we've kept track of, Hickman Spider Man, and we were just talking off recording about how Spider-Man's popping up a bit more in the popular culture due to the Sam Raimi films jumping back into the theater, which is great, and I love that for everyone. I think, of course, of course there are always things you can improve about anything, but I feel like those movies are really solid. They've really stood the test of time, and I feel like the face you're giving me is like, no, they're perfect. Why are you saying this? But
No, I don't think 1 and 3 are perfect. I
Mhm,
think they're fantastic movies, even 3. I know 3 kinda got thrown under the bus. It had kinda had like
mhm,
a prequel style, a Star Wars prequel style renaissance,
mhm,
where like people didn't like it, and then the internet told them not to like it, and then it became like meme material, and now people were like, "Wait, wait, I grew
mhm,
up with it," or they even without that, it's like, "Wait, there's stuff here." Like it, especially the third one, it's like maybe it
mhm,
works less well than the other two, but it's
mhm.
like it's still the third best Spider-Man movie for me. So
Oh,
like,
I
you
often
know,
I think it's funny because I feel like there's a lot of things people like about that film that they just don't. This is gonna sound pretentious. Like they don't understand why
no,
it
say it.
is. Like they don't like. There's intentionally things. They're like, for instance, like they talk shit like, "Oh, Peter Parker is dancing like a fucking dork. What is he doing?" Peter Parker is a dork. That's what's cool to him. It's not supposed to be some suave. This is what like a dork geek thinks is cool. Like, of course it's gonna be cringy. Like that's the point. Like, silly
Yeah.
things that are just like there's direct purpose to the way some of these things are done, but people just don't see it and they're like, I don't like it. And I'm just like, well, there's a reason
Yeah.
behind it. So if you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, and they're all 3 of them, they're very romantic, they're very
Hmm.
sweeping, and they're very sincere. Um, we're not here to talk about the Spider-Man movies, but I will for a
Hmm.
second because it's a Spider-Man comic podcast episode. Um, the last 2 movies, the first one kind of like under the radar, were all
Hmm.
written by Alvin Sargent, and he's like this legendary Hollywood screenwriter. He wrote like Paper Moons,
Oh.
which is just like a fantastic movie. Um, directed by Peter Bogdanovich, and he this is like real like filmmaking stuff going
Hmm.
on with these 3 movies, and like everyone knows the trials and tribulations of the third film where they're like, you got to put Venom in there and stuff. And I even think Venom kind of works in the movie, but
Hmm.
like at their, I think the main reason they stand tested time is that they were like they're wonderfully made movies that are very human stories.
Hmm.
They're not about just saving the world as a nebulous concept of superheroism. They're about people, specifically 3 young people, Peter, MJ, and Harry. Those are the 3 focal points of that trilogy, who are forced to grow up a little faster than maybe they'd like to have
Hmm.
grown up. And I can't imagine why anyone feels relatable to those characters right now in a world that is feels very uncertain, and feels like people have to step up in certain ways that they otherwise would not have had to had their world been better taken care of. So I don't know.
Yes.
I don't
No,
know. Great
it
movies.
might resonate. Including
Yeah.
this comic, which I feel like resonates with a lot of people currently, which we are about to dive in. another story that's not grandiose space fights, but just about people and what they want, and who they want to be. So let's just jump right into the comic. Okay, here we are with the Ultimate Spider-Man cover, issue 4. This one is a bit more tamed compared to the other ones because the other ones are a bit more teasery, a bit more oh who's fighting, but this is more so it's almost like a respite cover where it's like taking a break from the action to kind of like give daily life, and I feel like that's also part of the writing of this issue. You know what I mean? Like there's
Mhm.
not a lot of action, but a lot of a lot of things happen. But
Yeah,
any
it's
thoughts on the
it's
cover?
no, I love it. It's very simple. It's definitely the simplest of all the covers. Um, but it's also yeah, it's very slice of life, you know? Like if this was an
Mhm.
anime, this would probably be like the beach episode, but
I
it's a
love how
comic,
this
so
is. I love how this is. You can tell it's Ben's table because you can see his name on the coffee cup, and you look at J. Jonah Jameson, and I like that his call ID is just him yelling. That's
yeah,
very
like
funny. I
it's so
love that.
perfect. Like I mean, we can go on
Mhm.
to the next page, but like
Yeah.
I have just since we mentioned the Spider-Man movies coming back to
Mhm.
theaters, the other Spider-Man movies are coming back to theaters as well, and you know they always had trouble recasting or refiguring out live action J. Jonah Jameson to the point where they
Mhm.
just brought back J.K. Simmons.
It works.
Um, yeah, he deserves better than what those movies
Mhm.
give him now, but yes, absolutely.
Oh, yeah,
But
he's
in the
barely
Amazing
in those
Spider-Man 2,
anyways.
I know it's we don't we don't have time for me to get into that. But in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, there's I do like one part of that movie and
Mhm.
or some parts of that movie, and one of the bits is when like Peter's emailing photos to the Daily Bugle, right? He's like, you know, I think you should lay off like whatever Peter Parker does. And then the email from Jonah just says wrong in all caps, and it's like, okay, like even that movie got that right, you know, like that's pretty good.
Ugh, that's so Jonah. But we're only going to see Jonah a little bit today. Our first page is, a moonlit night city and a fancy restaurant. We're in April, so this comic continues to deliver on its promise of every month it's released. That's the month comic is going to be taking place. Which I have a couple issues now that we're like 4 months into it, 4 comics into it. I have a few issues, but we'll touch on that later. But we open to MJ and Peter. Both of them look real nice and snazzy. And I think it's interesting because MJ's like, "Are you sure this is a good idea?" And Peter's like, "No, but at least we get to go out." And I think that's very cute. That they're just so in love. It's so cute. They're such a cute couple. I love them so much. But
Yeah.
they're talking, and then here he is, Mr. Harry Osborn himself. They're meeting up with him for dinner, which is this. Okay, we're gonna start here. This entire comic to me is anxiety. It's
And
awkwardness. This entire thing reads like that, and I get it from the first moment where Peter's like, "Oh yeah, they almost didn't let me in until I mentioned your name," and then Harry's just like, "Oh yeah, the people that come here are like insufferable, awful people. I come here all the time." Which is like he's trying to land a joke, but I feel like Peter doesn't like resonate. Like it's this weird. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a weird. They want to be friends, but there's like this weird clashing. I don't know. I don't know. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I know what you're saying, yeah.
Mhm,
Like Peter comes from like a working class background, you know? Um the middle
mhm,
class which no longer exists in America, which is not just me making a political statement. Like I think that's a genuine like
mhm,
reason for why this Peter Parker and Harry are like on weird footing, even
mhm,
though they have common goals, as we discovered at the end of last issue. But Harry's just like a one percenter. Like it's that
mhm,
dissonance is big, you know? Like if you're a billionaire, you're basically not in touch with people,
mhm.
you know? Like that's a big deal.
And, that's gonna be a
So
reference throughout the comic. There's gonna be like, oh, billionaire moments, that kind of thing.
mhm.
So after that, he kind of introduces him to MJ, and she's like, "Oh, very nice to meet you." He's like, "Oh, you're obsessed with you," and they give a bit of a compliment. "Oh, I heard about your great business. Great for you." Once again, we still don't know what the business is. Later in the issue, we're finally revealed. I don't know why I never thought of that as a possibility. But there's a bit of a line where he's like, "Oh, I'm waiting for my wife. Here she is now." And then the next page, Peter, MJ, this is my wife, Gwen Stacy. Who? don't know why I didn't. This feels like a very obvious reveal that I just was not on my radar. I feel like this is something
Mhm.
that could have been predicted. Like, oh, who's he dating? Well, who's one of the other big women in Spider-Man lore that could be here? It's Gwen.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I thought it was gonna be Felicia for some reason. I or like Liz Allen. I don't know. I was very like, who could it be? But I think Gwen Stacy is interesting. We get to meet a very new version of her. I kind of mentioned in our first issue when we talked about this about like how Uncle Ben has sort of become this monolithic ideal in the headspace of Peter Parker, where like he doesn't really change, or he's just like this character in the back of his head that he's built like this shrine of justice to, this big person that affects him. And I feel like Gwen is so detached from him and has also become an ideal. If you ignore the Spider Gwen and the different Earth Gwen that has been very popular lately, but like the original Gwen, she's like so detached from being a person or a character. And that's not only because of the writing and the time it came out, but just she's an ideal, she's an idea, a dream that's kind of been with Peter. So I'm interested to ever see like new interpretations of Gwen. But that's my rambling. What was your thought seeing her just pop up on the page?
No, I mean, I agree with you. Like, I remember there was this big like push when like this ties into all Spider-Man stuff.
Mm-hmm.
After the Raimi trilogy ends, and then they say they're canceling his fourth movie. They're gonna do the Amazing Spider-Man. They're gonna do Gwen Stacy now. Get a bunch of nerds coming out of the woodwork. Like, all right, now we're gonna get the real Spider-Man love interest. It's like, no, she was the first one. She's not the real one. It's like they're
That's
not
being
real characters.
pedantic.
First of
That's
all,
pedantic as hell.
it's super pedantic because then some people are like, well, I always kind of
Mm-hmm.
consider Gwen Stacy. And it's like, shut the fuck up. No, you didn't. No,
You
you stop
didn't.
trying to look. I get it. We all like to be like controversial and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like we try to like be more provocative. No, you didn't. Shut your fucking face. Like everyone, all those people thought like making Spider-Man dark and gritty would be a good idea too,
Mm-hmm.
and that version doesn't even get a third movie. So, who's laughing now? Idiots. Um, but yeah, I didn't expect Gwen Stacy to pop up in this either. Like once we were at that previous page that we were just at, and then the Gwen Stacy reveal happens. Like I was kind of like, oh my god, it's gonna be Gwen, and I
Mm-hmm.
just didn't consider her like necessary for this
Mm-hmm.
age of Peter Parker. But if we're gonna remix the entire mythos, if like these people just never interacted before because these circumstances didn't thrust great power and responsibility onto them,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, it makes sense that they wouldn't have known of each other or gotten to be friends or, you know, had falling outs in
Mm-hmm.
ways. So this was nice. I have no idea what to make of this character yet beyond that, and in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I want to like these guys, these iterations of them,
Mm-hmm.
and not that I think they're weak in character departments or stuff like that. Just like I kind of got my guard up because I don't know what
Yeah.
anyone is angling for yet. That's all.
Mm-hmm. It's like
But
you see a
we'll get
sandwich,
there.
but it's made from a different restaurant. So you're like, I like a BLT, but I've never eaten at this restaurant, so I don't know if it's gonna be good. But I like the idea of it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think Gwen Stacy as like an idea is just so interesting. It's also very sad because the term women in refrigerator wasn't really coined, I think, until the 90s with Kyle Rayner and Gail Simone. I think, I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but like she's
I think
definitely
Gail
one of
Simone
the
starts it,
mhm,
but it's because of Kyle
yeah.
Rayner's like
Mhm.
as a Green Lantern, right?
Like yeah, I know that phrase was coined, I think, during the 90s or 2000s, I forget, but this is definitely like Gwen Stacy was killed off to advance Pete, not maybe not advance, but to push Peter towards a certain development. And it's always interesting to see like, oh, here's Gwen Stacy. Like, who is Gwen Stacy? And I feel like we don't get a full picture, but we get a hint of the type of person she is.
Yeah, and I want to shout out my buddy Jack Godwin from that '90s Spider-Man show.
Oh yeah, I
It's a
love them.
podcast, and yeah, and he's hopped on to my podcast to talk
Hmm.
about Spider-Man and Doctor Strange 2, another Sam Raimi banger. Um, but he brought up the good point, like that the night Gwen Stacy died, like you kind of can't do that in movies anymore. One, because like if you make Gwen Stacy a fully fleshed out character, you're undercutting her own story by killing her off at some
Hmm.
point. Like there's just you have to. I don't know how to make that work. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
it worked in comics because like characters didn't do that. They didn't. It came back.
Hmm.
Not that they died and came back. Like now that's the thing, right? They die and come back all the time, and it's lame and boring,
Hmm.
and it's trickling out into the movies and TV shows now. People don't like it, rightfully so. But for comics, like when Gwen Stacy died, and it's Spider-Man's fault,
Hmm.
whether or not he broke her neck with the web when he catches her in the air, or she was dead before she was thrown, he puts her in harm's way. He fails to live up to that responsibility and responsibility and power.
Hmm.
Um, that doesn't like happen before that for mainstream comics anyway.
Yeah, it was a
For
big
the
thing,
capes, yeah,
huge,
and it's
and
like now you can't do that anymore.
yeah.
They've been chasing that high forever, and you just can't
Mhm.
do it. It doesn't work. You know?
And
So.
the ideas of like responsibility and bringing in the people that you love into this big life of yours if you're a hero is something that's brought up in this issue. So I thought that was very interesting. But
Mhm.
Gwen is like, "Hi, nice to meet you, Peter." She kind of was at some sort of corporate meeting, so she's a businesswoman. Uh, and she says, "I'm starving," and then we get our recap. 20 years ago, the mail. La, 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 you already heard me. Everyone's heard my Star Wars opener impression. Um, Green
Oh, the
Goblin,
Clone Wars guy.
the Clone Wars previously. But it recaps Tony Stark sent Peter a spider. He's been working. Green Goblin's been going against Wilson Fisk. Goblin was able to find out their identity. They revealed each other. They had a sexually tension moment in as they stared each other down, and then they said, "We want to get dinner." And then apparently it takes a month for them to get dinner, I guess. But he's a big corporate rich guy. I guess that makes sense. But yes, that's the recap. We have writer Jonathan Hickman with guest artist
Ooh.
David Messina, colorist Matthew Wilson, letterer Vic Corey Petit. And this is a break from Mark Chietto. Um, and I'm a little snobby when it comes to art. So I'm not saying David Messina art is bad. No, there's a few moments that I really like throughout this issue. That's because of their art. And just I'm so used to one thing when it's something different. I get thrown off personally.
Mhm.
But I'm
I
sure.
am with you. I maybe brought it up here before, but like the comic that gets me to read comics like
Mhm,
religiously is The Walking Dead,
mhm,
and those first like 6 issues, I think, or even maybe more. But they were all drawn, but I can't remember the original artist. But if you know Walking Dead comics, you
mhm.
know this story. He
Like it's a
ends up
particular art style that's
It's a
very
particular
much
art style, and then that
attributed to them.
artist ends up leaving. I think Tony Moore. I think it's
Mhm.
Tony Moore. He has a falling out with
Kirkman.
Robert Kirkman, I
Mhm,
believe, of some kind. I don't remember all the details. It's been so long, but um, then the new artist comes in. He's much faster. He can keep up with the workload and everything like
mhm.
that. And um, I don't like it as much, and that was always a hang up for me. I read
Mhm.
over 100 issues of that, and it's like I eventually end up reading all of it, but like it just never hit the same way.
Yeah.
And that's for whatever reason, whatever falling out, like it impacted me as a reader.
Mhm,
I understand there's politics behind it, but it is what it is. This one doesn't take me out of it.
mhm.
I immediately noticed like the difference in
Yeah.
style, and so I was like, it's not that different,
Yeah.
but I th- I'm willing to put money down on it that the next issue's probably got some insane art shit going on.
Oh
So they're
yeah.
like, you do this one,
Mhm.
Chichetto, you do the next one.
They're like,
You get
Messina, we need
2 months for
you to
that
do the
one.
easy one. We need you to do the easy one in the restaurant, and I need to draw a
Hmm.
bunch of action shit. So I'm gonna take a break from
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. I bet
Mhm.
there's some fucking wild shit next time.
So yes, next page, baby, where it's just them eating. They're talking about, oh, like this is amazing, food is great. They kind of have this moment where they're kind of just they're trying to bond as a couple, like, oh, when you get married, are you gonna have kids? And I think this is one of the art style choices I really like. uh MJ asks, oh, do you have any? And Gwen says, no, I'd like to. I think I'd be a good mom. I'd like to have it. We're considering. And when you look at on this panel where you look at Gwen's face, it's very light, it's very soft, the coloring is very soft, there's some shade, and she's looking down. It's like she's picking at her food.
Mhm.
But Peter asks, "What's the holdup?" And then we go to the next page with Harry, and his face is heavily shaded, so dark. In his words, the world we'd bring them into. So it very much kind of feels already like Gwen is the optimist, Harry is the pessimist. It's that kind of odd
Mhm.
couple. which is
Yeah.
further proved when MJ is like, "Oh, how long you guys been married?" And Harry's like, "Oh, I don't know." And Gwen's just like, 8 years, 3 months, 10, no, 11 days, and 2 leap years. Like she's on it,
Yeah.
which is very funny. Just it feels like Peter and MJ as a couple really vibe. Like they're very much on the same wavelength. But again, Gwen and Harry are odd coupling it up.
Mhm.
Even though on some
Uh,
level they get each other, but yeah, they're odd coupling it up just a little bit.
like, there's enough there that you can see
Mhm.
whatever Hickman plays it as. If it's eventually like uh they're antagonistic and Harry does
Mhm.
become a villain, you could see it going down that path, or they're both villains and you can see them going down that path. But you also see it like, yeah, maybe they are just like they play different beats, but
Mhm.
they work together as a certain rhythm. You can
Mhm.
see both options being like viable from this issue. Like Harry's much
Mhm.
more pragmatic, and that can be good or bad. We don't know yet. We haven't seen him and Peter do superheroics
Mhm.
together yet, besides one fight. So,
Yeah, they've just kind of reacted together. They never really like truly worked together.
mhm,
But we find out finally. I've been wondering what in the hell is she doing. MJ started a PR firm. She's a bit of a marketing genius. We get a bit of a backup where she talks about, oh, I used to model a little. Then I got into PR, and I think there's a very interesting idea that I kind of always was curious about because this is just my own personal train of thought. In during M Day, when the 2006, I think 2007 M Day, when the Scarlet Witch warps reality, where everyone gets like the greatest wish or whatever, and mutants are in charge. In it, Peter Parker is Spider Man, but he's a bit more public, and he's with Gwen Stacy. And in that reality, MJ is a model. She's like an actress. She's a famous actress, like A-level actress. And there's interesting point when everything's returned back to normal because comics can never be truly changed. Everything goes back to normal. And she's like, Peter's living in a New Avengers Tower, and she's just reading a newspaper, and it's kind of just like, look at what MJ is without you. And it's kind of that thing on Peter, like, am I weighing everyone down? But in this world, without Spider-Man, Peter can be Peter and MJ can be MJ. She can still be successful. So I don't know. That's just my own lines on my cork board of theories that have nothing to do with each other. I'm making that connection. It's just interesting.
mhm.
Like it's not
Yeah,
Peter.
like,
Peter. If I could shake Peter, I'm like Peter. It's not you. It's Spider Man. But you've
mhm.
chosen to be Spider Man. So I'm sorry. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
But it's
and
just
and I don't know.
thoughts.
I used to kind of think that like Spider-Man would preclude him from like the superheroics would stop him from being able to live like a
Hmm.
life. And I don't really believe that anymore. I just think no one's been interested in telling that story, and I kind of hope Hickman is, you
I feel
know?
like that's where it's going.
Yeah. So fingers crossed on that.
Fingers
I will say,
crossed.
I
Hmm.
want more people to let MJ be an actress
Hmm.
because in the MCU, I I don't know what that character Zendaya is a godsend.
Michelle
In-
Jones.
Yeah, incredible actress.
She's
Go
great.
see Dune 2 as part
Oh
of the
my
movie.
god. She should have taken.
Her
We don't
MJ
need to
has
get
has
into it.
nothing to
Can't get
do
into it.
after the first movie. The first movie,
Hmm.
there's a cute like, oh, is she interested in him at the end? And then it's like, okay, well maybe we'll see them.
Hmm.
Oh, who doesn't love like characters falling in love? And the next movie, they're just like, oh, we're just gonna okay, well fucking you wasted
Yeah, like we're
your
already
goddamn
there.
time. Yeah. I want to see MJ like do entertainment stuff again because that's kind of like her deal.
Hmm.
In the video games, she's a journalist, and that's fine. I love those games.
I know that's a
Different approach.
controversial character choice for a lot of people.
Yeah, but a lot of people are super fucking weird about MJ in those games.
Hmm.
Like, video game nerds, they make me want to say video games are not art
She
because they
gets a
don't deserve
gun.
it.
What else do you need from her? She gets a
I
gun in
know
the second game. What else do you want?
those video game nerds are aggressively strange. So
Hmm.
that's all I'll say about that. And anyways, yeah, I just want to see more of what she's going on. A PR firm job sounds great though. So like I'm interested to see like maybe she'll do PR for Spider-Man or something, like
Mhm.
just to get goodwill for the public. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just spitballing, but
Yeah,
that would be
but
fun.
we might see that based on information we get in a little bit. But they continue. She gives a bit more background, like, "Oh, I worked for people, and I just couldn't do like up your ass corporate PR, so I'm kind of breaking out on my own, being independent." And they kind of drop the bomb that, oh, well, not really a bomb, but she's like, "Oh, so we're letting people know that Ben Parker and J. Jonah Jameson, they're starting their own news outfit." And she's like, "Oh, we just settled on a name." And then on this page, we switched back to the Parker family resident, and where they're kind of talking and hanging out. And apparently, the it's called the paper. It's supposed to be ironic, according to their son. It's ironic and it's meta. And there's only 2 pages of Ben and Jonah, and if I could be honest, I could have done without them.
Oh yeah,
I could have done without them. Like, they're fine, but I would rather have been at the restaurant seeing other things. Like, there's nothing wrong with
I
these pages, but
guess.
what
Yeah,
you
I,
defend
I,
them to me then, because I'm like, I don't really need these.
yeah, I mean, I think we still need to see like when they're talked about when they're spoken about at the restaurant.
Hmm.
Like, okay, that's called the paper. Like, you could have had MJ and Peter say that. I think it just means more coming from these characters because Hickman's writing is so good because he basically bases everything in character, right?
Hmm.
Um, Maybe there's some exceptions off the top of my head where people are like, "How could you forget when he betrayed us with whatever?" And I'm like, I
Hmm.
don't know. Um, they pay bills, so I think it means more knowing what they're going. Like when you mentioned like now we
Hmm.
know MJ works PR, right? And it's like, oh, that's exciting. Open to a whole world of possibilities,
Hmm.
but it's also a big deal because it's it's coming from her and Peter. It's not like we're just
Hmm.
kind of thrown into it. I just feel it means more coming from them, and then
Yeah.
frankly also answers the question like who's watching the kids.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it's like
yeah,
you're
that's
covering
true.
both bases, you know.
I do like at the end where they're kind of talking about it, and they're like, "Oh, da 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 da," and at the end, Pete's daughter is like, "Uncle Ben, yes, dear. Is he gonna leave soon?" Like, she does not like Jonah,
Yeah,
which is
and
just
I do like
it's
that
really
they kept that
funny.
up too. It's like no, Jonah's like
Hmm.
he's a tough customer,
Hmm.
but there's a reason he's friends with Ben and likes Peter here,
Hmm.
But yeah, I think some other interpretations lose that, and they just make him an Alex Jones type, one of the worst human
Oh
beings
my god.
alive. I don't think
And we're
he's
gonna
that.
just keep circling back to the new
I
Spider-Man
have not.
movie.
I didn't say anything. I didn't say any of
I
that.
saw a
I'm just
connection,
saying,
and I'm just putting them
you
next to
know,
each other.
it's actually in the video games first,
Oh,
and
sorry.
I was okay with that there because it wasn't a staple yet. Now it looks like it's just a thing
Mhm.
everyone's gonna fall back on, except the great Jonathan Hickman. So
Remember in that first movie when Goblin shows up and he's just like, "Who is Peter?" And Jonah's like, "I don't know who the fuck that is." Like, he's an asshole, but he's a good person at the end of the day, and it's
yeah,
just,
he's also a journalist protecting his
mhm,
source. Like it means
exactly.
a lot. That movie is very important
Mhm.
for like American culture, and I'm not even joking.
I know you're not joking, but yes, we keep getting off track. She's like, "Oh, Ben is he gonna leave soon because she doesn't like him." But we cut back to the restaurant. You know what this I feel like I've been saying. I think we've talked about, like, this feels very cinematic. This feels very, drafted, like it's something to be shot. And I feel like that could be, you're watching an episode of Marvel Spider-Man, you cut back to the apartment, and you went back to the restaurant. So it's that kind of flow. And
Maybe
I'm,
that's why I like them cutting back to Jonah
mhm.
too, Jonah and Ben, because it's like that's it's like such. I could see like what
Yeah.
you're describing right now. You can see that cut like in front of
Yeah.
you,
Like, you break up that scene to go check on them and see how they feel
on the
about it.
B
Then you go
plot for the
back. Yeah.
episode.
That's the B plot of the episode, is like Jonah and Ben watching the kids or something. And it's very cute, but they have a bit more of a talk. They kind of try to joke. And it's interesting because Gwen has a couple moments here. She's like, "Oh, what are they gonna dig?" Some old crusty guys compliments Peter, and then there's an interesting thing here where she kind of points out that, a lot of corporate media is sanitized. It's very cleaned up and wrapped in a bow for the public consumption. And she kind of points that out, and she kind of says like, "Hey, he exists for a reason. There has to be a point, and people need heroes." And it's a very interesting. She gives very much a speech that feels very that I understand why she says what she says when we get further in the comic,
Mhm.
because it kind of feels like she's very much on the side into the idea. And she kind of goes, "Oh, you know, maybe you can lend him some of your photos." And I really like this moment where he's like, "But I work for the Bugle." And she kind of responds like, "And you always will," with an attitude like that.
Mhm.
And it's kind of funny because earlier she was like, "Oh, Harry, don't be rude." But then she says something just a little bit rude. And
Yeah, yeah. It's like she
uh,
knows to keep her man in check,
mm,
but she's also like playful enough to kind of like there. This is when I was like, okay, it makes sense that these two would
mhm.
be together, you know.
Like they're a bit odd,
There's a
but
little silver
yeah,
tongue.
they are on a similar wavelength. They're on different ends, but they're on a similar one. But
Mhm.
interesting. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna go to the ladies' room." MJ is like, "Oh, I'll join you. You two behave." Cut back to the bed to the apartment, and I think it's funny because Uncle Ben says, "Oh, like, oh, she ain't the only one that don't like Jameson. What do you think about him?" And instead of saying yes or no, the son just goes, "I think what you guys are doing is really cool." Like he doesn't say yes or no. He's like, "I like what you guys are doing together." You know, it's just very fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm,
It's this is nice. Like this is just nice.
mhm,
I think because this issue again, I'm convinced the next one's probably gonna have like a bunch of like wild art in it.
mhm.
This feels like a little breather
Yeah,
before we're hit with something. So I like the human stuff quite a bit, and then it just kind of affirms that the Parkers are they're a very healthy family. Like he
yeah.
won't even, the son won't even stay up to watch TV past his bedtime. You know,
Mhm.
when his parents aren't home. So that's like that's fun. Makes me think
Yeah.
that maybe he'll have some mixed feelings when he finds out about his dad being Spider Man.
Yeah. Which is interesting because he is very much like his father, but he's also like his mother. So it's very because the kids do feel like a mix of their parents in different
Hmm.
ways. So it's very interesting. But that page is over. We go back to the bathroom. They're kind of MJ and Gwen are talking like, "Oh, love the color," and he thinks. And there's a fun moment. Like I could see them being kind of friends because Gwen's like, am I too much? And MJ, instead of saying yes or no, she's like, "I'm good with it. Like I can handle
Hmm.
your sass." And it's a cute little moment where they're kind of talking, and she says, "Well, we get a bit of information dump about the world that Oscorp took over Stain slash Stark since like Tony Stark was branded a terrorist and the bombing in New York and everything." And she kind of talks about, "Oh, hey, I have lots of money. Maybe put me in touch with the old grumpy men of the paper." And there's a lot of lines Gwen gives here, but I like this one where she says, "I'm kind of in the mood to see if I can launch a pirate ship," which is it's just a lot of fun wordplay. You know, this rogue media outlet that's going to report like the truth, and she's like, "I want to be a part of that. I like that." You know, it's fun.
Yeah, and like, look, this is
Mm-hmm.
all fantasy fiction stuff. Um, it is kind of the energy we need to keep a lot of like outlets afloat. Like I think as of like an hour ago from recording, like someone just bought the Onion so they could just do whatever they want. So they're not gonna
Mm-hmm.
get bought out by corporate interests. Who knows how that goes? Maybe I've misread this, but
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool. You know,
Yep.
that's not nearly the gravity in this fictional world, anyways, that we're talking about. Like as Oscorp, but like it's I like reading the Onion. You know, like that's cool. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I like the interaction between these characters here, and like I do really want them to be friends. Like I do you think Gwen's at least on the up and up?
I think we're about to find out on the next page, but
Mhm.
you know, if she threw on a hobgoblin helmet, I wouldn't be upset. But
Yeah,
we're
I might.
oh, I think it'd be interesting I as not like her taking the mantle, but like, "Oh, I'm gonna help my husband out because he's fucking shit up." Like, just show up. But
Mm,
we cut back to the two guys talking, and Harry's giving him a smile. He's like, "Oh, you haven't told her, have you?" And Peter's like, "Wait, you told Gwen?" And he's like, "I've told her everything." and there's like a shock in Peter's face. And it's very interesting that how these two kind of view their relationship. And I don't know if either of them are particularly bad, but I think it's interesting in how it shows what type of person they are, because we kind of see in the next sequence of pages that Harry is like, "Oh, I'm doing this thing. I love my wife. All right, she's in. That's it." And then Peter's like, "Oh, I love my wife and kids. I can't let them know. I don't want them to get hurt." It's those two conflicting ideals that I think are very interesting.
Mhm.
But
I
what do you
mean,
think
we're
on that?
talking about well, we're also talking about cinematic too. I wanna talk about, like, the paneling and the art style. Because at first, when I was reading
Hmm.
it, I was like, you see the top right? There's Peter in the 2 frames, but he that frame doesn't have to be
Hmm.
split down the middle, right? And then Harry's got his solo frames, his singular frames. But in the previous page, Harry got a 2 panel thing to split down the middle like that. That didn't have to be. And I think that's just for, like, clarity, like, in the bottom left
Hmm.
corner right there, right? Same deal. Doesn't have to be split in 2, but it is.
Hmm.
And I don't think that's a mistake. I think it's just for, like, image clarity, how you're reading it, right?
Hmm.
And, but, again, to talk more about the cinematic aspect of it too, so that let's say that would be shot, like, on a if we're getting into cinematography or even photography, it's like that's probably on, like, a 35, 21 millimeter lens, right? Not
Hmm.
super wide, but wide. And with that, you don't with those lenses, you don't get a lot of bokeh. This is important because go back and look at how many of the individual panels of MJ, Peter, and Gwen. I don't know. I think Harry too. Maybe I missed some, but they have like bokeh in the back, so that would be like on a telephoto lens, right? So those
Hmm.
middle panels of Peter, the bottom two middle panels, when he's just, he's in the zone talking about something, it's just him, you know. And versus like
Hmm.
Harry's around him, he's got like the half shadow look where it's
Oh
like,
yeah.
please don't just be ominous because you're rich, not because you're a bad
Hmm.
guy. Please. And when I say upset, like if Gwen becomes the Hobgoblin for good or evil, right, for better or ill,
Oh, I
I
meant
say
that as a
upset because
joke. I
I
don't
just
think she's
like her.
actually going
Yeah.
to turn into a hobgoblin.
No, no, yeah, yeah. But I
Uh,
just I would be upset because I'm like, no, no, I kind of want them to just be friends now. Like
hmm.
these characters go through so much in other worlds. Like let them at least be okay right now.
And,
That's all.
I love that you pointed out the sort of background paneling of each of these characters. Like, for instance, you look at Harry saying, like, "Oh," he's like saying something about, "Oh, I'm glad you weren't going to lecture me," and you see that his background is static. It's something because what he's saying he has confidence in. He's here in the moment. But then when we cut to Peter in the next panel next to it, where he's like, "I haven't told MJ because I have to protect her," and you see his background. It's not the restaurant. It's something flowing. It's something more abstract because he's still unsure about what he's doing. He just knows that he likes what he's doing. Whereas sort of
Mhm.
Harry is he knows what he's doing, knows why he's doing it, and he's more assured and certain. And in fact, even when the panels get a bit more abstract for him, there's like an intensity to them that's so punching in a way that it clearly matches the words of he's confident, he knows what he's doing, and it's just a very interesting way to kind of set that up.
Mhm.
But there's a very interesting. I want to hear what you think of this line. He's talking about Harry goes, "You seriously think you can live this life and insulate the people you love from consequences?" And Peter goes, "I don't know if I even want to do whatever this is. Like, I know it feels good helping people, but I don't even. I'm still lost." He's still thinking about it, and it's interesting because we can backtrack because for our viewers, I have the comic digitally because I bought it. We got the digital. We're going through the panels and pages. But Harry kind of says, these people, they're playing gods. They've been doing it for years. It's institutional, it's systematic, it's the whole down world. And you, Peter Parker, have great power. And with great power comes great responsibility. Now, what's it's such a gift, but only if you use it. And what do you think of Harry being the one delivering this message? Because
It
that's
either
something. I'm
solidifies
sorry. Go
him
ahead. Sorry. Go
as
ahead.
like
Mm-hmm.
as a like a real ally
Mm-hmm.
or the most complex like relationship him and Peter have ever had
Yeah.
in comics. Like it's about to happen. Um, I hope it's the former. I'm totally fine with it being the latter. this is just personal preference. I would like to see something else. But no, I think it works here because it's like he never had to have that talk with Uncle
Mhm.
Ben. He never was tempted by the power to do to make poor decisions. Um, to steal and like lie, and he didn't. As far as we know, he didn't get Aunt May killed.
Mhm.
It doesn't sound like it. There'd be no reason for that, as far as I know. So yeah, he needed to have
I
that,
believe she
and
died in
Harry.
the bombing. Similar
Oh,
to
did they say that? I don't remember
yes,
that.
no, I believe in issue 1 they said that she died in the New York bombing alongside Harry's parents. In fact,
Okay, okay.
I was rereading issue 1. I have little notes on my phone. And when he's giving eulogy to the crowd in New York, he talks about, oh, I remember memories of my dad playing baseball and us throwing the ball back. And there's this line where, Matt Murdock said, oh, we hear the angels singing. And it's back to Harry. And Harry says, it isn't the angels I hear singing. I hear a ball hitting a glove. I hear screams and sirens. I hear all of us crying out in pain because part of our future was stolen and we got in exchange were memories. So it's almost like he had his Uncle Ben dying moment, but with his parents. It's Harry, the one that
Mhm.
had that experience. And it's so intriguing to have this version of Harry go through that. But they're all adults and they have such different perspectives. And it's just, oh, it's like so many possibilities. I don't know.
And it's like, maybe this is maybe my optimism for these characters
Mm-hmm.
coming out, but like maybe they're better equipped to handle this responsibility because they've lived, mostly normal lives,
Mm-hmm.
even though the lives we knew them to have were essentially stolen from them,
Mm-hmm.
you know, which is a crime, but it does give me hope that they can handle that power and responsibility without hopefully making similar mistakes
Mm-hmm.
initially. Maybe this Harry doesn't have to die.
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, that I think that would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Or at the very least, keep him keep him around
Yeah.
at the very least.
Maybe
Um,
hangs up the suit, helps with tech, does something. It's just a friend to Peter, someone Peter can
yeah,
talk to. I hope this version stays around for such a long time because I feel like there's so much you could do with him, as well as Gwen and everyone else involved.
yeah, and I like the comment about him just being a man in a suit.
Hmm.
I
Oh, yes.
feel
He said
like
earlier, he's like, I'm just a man in a suit. You're the one with the great power. Yes.
mhm. I feel like Jonathan Hickman probably has some thoughts about the direction the Iron Man character has gone, not
Hmm.
just in movies, but just in general, because this Green Goblin is kind of Iron Man-y, you know?
Yeah.
But not kind of like it's the implication is that it's like Stark tech and shit, right? That's the previous issue and stuff like that.
Yeah. I was trying to see the line, but I don't know where the line is. But he does say it. He's like, I'm just a
Yeah,
guy
he
in a
does.
suit.
Maybe it's the next page.
Hmm.
But yeah. Also, just a background note on the last two panels, the wides.
Hmm.
Um, I just love it. There's like little bokeh with Harry's, but there's like that streak of light, and then
Hmm.
Peter's. You feel the line settle in. It's just like, psh, just like it might as well be like, you know, um, a fucking spotlight on him,
Hmm.
or like a light bulb going off in his head.
See, now I kind of want to see like a fan. You know what, Diego? You do this. You as a fan recreate this in a
Okay, I
restaurant.
don't. You know what? I don't think I have any ginger friends in the area. I'll have to put out the call to my out of state ginger friends.
No ginger friends. How could you diversify your friend group, Diego?
Yeah, I know. I know. I'm sorry.
It's
I'm a
okay.
bad ally.
You sound so sad. I'm so sorry.
I am sad. Gingers aren't going to exist in like 50 years. It's not
Ugh.
a joke. This is real. This is
Yeah.
genetically
No.
speaking. Yeah. So
One
shout out
day
to the gingers out there.
well, shout out to all the gingers. Love you. Unless you're like a
We're going to do
Nazi, in
something
which
about
case
this
I don't
genetic
like
stuff.
that.
Wait, what?
I said unless you're a Nazi, then never mind.
Well, yeah, if you're a Nazi, you don't
Deserve
deserve life.
rights. Okay.
Yeah, what the fuck?
It is the official statement of Dip into the Ink Noah YouTube channel. We don't like Nazis. Official statement. We don't like them. We don't care for them. But
Yeah, and my official statement is if you're a Nazi, buddy, stop breathing. You're using up our oxygen. I could have
yeah,
said something way worse there,
you
and I
could
didn't.
have. I was
So,
proud of you. I was shocked by the lack of intensity, but this is kind of the last of our. I think this is the last scene in the diner where he's like, "It's a gift, only if you use it." Which we go back to the outside where they're walking away. Peter's like, "So, what'd you think?" And MJ's like, "They were nice, but they were scary." Yes, they were intensely scary, which I love because it feels like when you're like with your partner or like your friends and you hang out with other people, and then you guys kind of like regroup after the hangout. Like, so how was that? Insane, right? Yeah, no, and you guys like kind of catch up with each other on what you just experienced. I liked it. I liked this little again more human moments, but MJ says, "Yeah, it was equal parts personal and too intense, but really good food." Uh, and there's a very cute moment where Peter's like, "What do you think they're saying?" MJ's like, "About the world needing heroes." And MJ goes, "What do I need heroes for, Peter? I've got you." And that's so cute. Oh my
it's
god.
super sweet. Oh my god, yeah, that made me so
Mm-hmm.
happy. Shout out to that building they end by, because that's an actual building in New York. That
Oh,
is that doubles in the John Wick franchise as the Continental Hotel. So
hey, shout out the
yeah.
Continental. Give us rooms.
John Wick Chapter 1 to 4, best pictures of all time.
I've only seen John Wick 2, but it was pretty good.
That's fucking crazy. Why is why?
Back during our college newspaper, I said I'd write a review for it, and I was like, "Oh, this will give me an excuse to go watch it." So I went to go watch it. That's why. It's the only reason. I've
Okay,
never seen
we're
any of
gonna
them.
watch all 4 John Wicks in like one day this year.
Oh my god! All right, that's it's the to be continued, and then we see our next. We got a preview in May. Next issue with Harry and Harry and Ben and the Green Goblin looming over them, and it's just sort of a reform back to the other issues where it could that be in there? Is it clickbait? I don't know. But yeah,
Mhm.
that was the end of the issue. What do you think of it?
Yeah, really solid. I guess probably like the least exciting of the issues. Like I've said, the after the first issue, which is A plus, like
Mm-hmm.
I don't expect anything to touch that. Basically, just because of what it meant to me and like what it like did for essentially a dead brand in comics.
Mm-hmm.
Like people have always bought Spider-Man, but like, no one liked it. No one liked buying
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man. It's just people addicted. It's like you're
It's
addicted to
like
buying Spider-Man comics,
the
bad
character
Spider-Man
is too
comics,
big to
or
fail.
Coke.
It's
Yeah.
just too big to
Yeah.
fail because people are gonna know what's going on. Like I don't like it, but what's
Yeah.
happening?
Yeah, it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's a fucking abusive relationship.
Oh my
Um
god.
so the first issue A plus still,
Mm-hmm.
5 stars, all that jazz. The others have been really strong B pluses.
Mm-hmm.
This one's like a solid B.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yes, this is good or two now. You know?
Yeah.
Um, Not every issue has to change my life, so I'm just happy to be enjoying this stuff again. But like, I do think it
Mm-hmm.
is actually like commendable and
Yeah.
on its own terms. Like, I think we got a lot to talk about specifically about the art, which I didn't expect to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I admired it when I was reading it, and then I was like, hey, there's like stuff going on here, like with the formatting and the
Mm-hmm.
and everything. And I do love a good Peter MJ moment.
Mm-hmm.
There was I don't know if it went viral or whatever the fuck, or maybe I just saw a comment on YouTube. But in that first Spider-Man movie, sorry, I got to do this
No, it's
again.
okay. Do it.
Um,
Do it.
when because Peter and MJ live next door to each other at the end, right? And then she storms outside because her abusive, implied alcoholic dad is yelling at her, and they start to get to know each other a little bit, and like they've known each other. She's never not noticed him, but she's like she's different bubbles and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's gonna head out with Flash Thompson. He just got a new car, and she tells him like, you look, you're taller than you look, and he's just like, I hunch, and she's like, don't,
Oh, that's
and
so
it's
cute.
perfect.
That's
That is
so cute.
perfect. 'Cause that says everything about, like, she sees him,
Mm-hmm.
just he doesn't need to give a full paragraph monologue. Just don't.
Mhm.
Just
Less is
he
more.
doesn't have to.
You can
Yeah,
infer a
he
lot with
doesn't.
very little.
He doesn't have to with her. That's great. So that little ending reminded me of that, and I didn't even see the first and second one in theaters again, like everyone else. That is, however, because I've seen Spider-Man 2 in
Oh.
theaters 5 times as an adult. So
Honestly, you need to catch up because there are people who've seen it a lot more. And you need to work. Come on.
I know I've seen Spider-Man 2 5 times as an adult. 3 of those times on film.
Mhm.
Spider-Man 1 twice as an adult, 1 time on film.
Mhm.
And I will be watching Spider-Man 3 on Monday. So
Ooh. So if anybody says Diego doesn't like Spider Man, you can go suck eggs.
yeah,
I
at the
don't. I
very
don't.
least.
At the very least. I really enjoyed this issue. I'm also reading. I'm really enjoying the world of Ultimate just because the possibilities are endless. I still haven't picked up Black Panther, but just because
Racist.
it sells out really fast. Okay, wow. Says the man with no redhead friends. Okay.
No,
Uh
that's not a race.
that's but
That's like a species.
I'm gonna pick up some I'm definitely gonna pick up some Black Panther on Free Comic Book Day because my shop gives 50% off everything. I love it. But I've been reading
Undercity Comics. Check it
interested in
out.
comics, Undercity in Whittier, California. If you're from Chicago, fly here. Anyways, I've been reading a lot of Ultimate X-Men, which is a horror manga. It's
Oh my god,
insane.
tell me about that. 'Cause
Oh
I'm
my
not. So
gosh. Oh my gosh. Ultimate X-Men. First of all, this if this appeals to you, let me know. The writer did no research. They know nothing about the X-Men. They
I love it already.
they Google because she's Japanese, Peach Momoko. She knew a couple characters, but she Googled Japanese characters, and she's like, "I like that one. I like that one's powers." So, the book is about this girl Hisako. She's known as Armor. Like she creates this sort of psychomatic armor thing around her body, and it's a horror manga because her art style is very manga inspired. So it's like she's fighting like an evil shadow king that's like causing suicides,
Oh my god.
and it's like evil spiral monsters. I'll send you some pages
Yeah,
via
yeah,
text.
please
Like
do.
it's a horror manga. So I'm enjoying. My point is, I'm enjoying all the Ultimate titles. Marvel, if you I have a pitch for Ultimate Cloak and Dagger and Ultimate Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider. So hit me up. I got ideas. But yeah, I really enjoyed the issue. But before we end, Diego Crespo, the man, the myth, the legend. Uh, is there anything you'd like to leave our viewers with? Anything you'd like to plug? Anything like that?
Yeah, this is coming out for
Tomorrow.
April 26th, right?
Yeah.
Tomorrow? Okay. Yeah, then happy Alien franchise day. That's just a marketing gimmick, but
Oh my gosh, I'm almost done with the book for the first Alien. It's so good. It's so
yeah.
good.
Alan Dean Foster, he was a really
Mhm.
good novelization writer. Yeah, novelization writer. I did a secret retrospective with my buddy Matt Garingo. We kind of reminisced about how that franchise retrospective was kind of the first retrospective thing we did.
Mhm.
So we're looking back on it. He has grown less fond of the franchise over time just because
Mhm.
he doesn't he thinks it's like done. Like he likes the ones he likes and it's like there's nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
I I I don't entirely disagree, but I love it and it's my favorite
Mhm.
franchise. And so we talk about it and other stuff, concerns about where it could be going, just weird history with it. And yeah, I'm really proud of that. So check that out. Maybe I'll hop on Twitch to stream an alien game like Isolation or
You
something. I don't know. Don't hold me
should.
to
It
that
could
one,
be
but I'm gonna try.
fun.
Yeah.
I'll have Waffle Press and your Twitch in the link in the description. If you
Oh
made it
yeah,
this far,
yeah.
uh,
Sorry, go see the podcast, the Waffle Press. My other co-host Gene
yes.
is doing some great work lately. So go
Of,
support
of
that stuff
of
too.
the of the 10 consistent people that have been watching this, if you made it this far, go check out all of
Thank you.
Diego's stuff. Of course, Waffle Press and Gina Versa, all those folks. Matt Gringo. I hope he's okay. He always I is okay. I hope
No,
he's okay.
are any of us okay though?
I'm pretty great. You can see me being great. Noah is Garcia on TikTok for however long that'll be around. Twitter, Instagram, and
You got 9 lives.
Letterbox. You can find my photography work at Noah Garcia _ photography. And that's it for me. Goodbye.
But actually, you have one more thing.
Oh, I do? What?
If I can. Yeah, you have the East LA Art Show May 4th. You should go check out
Yes.
Noah's stuff there. He's going to be promoting that on his Instagram. And if he doesn't, I will. So go check that
Yes.
out.
If you're in the if you're in the LA area and you want to check out me as and many other fantastic photographers at Mariachi Plaza, I think at 7. Come on down. If you're
Yeah,
from Connecticut, fly on over and check it out. But
absolutely. Especially from Connecticut.
Connecticut.
Stay the fuck out of here, Paris, France, though.
Get out of here. Goodbye.